Comments or questions regarding the sign? Will the sign be lit in any way?
No, sir.
Comments? Do we have a motion?
Meets all the guidelines, and
That's
I
clearly
move
meets the
that
guidelines.
we accept it.
Do you know how it is attached to the building?
I do not.
Velcro?
I'm sorry?
Velcro?
Velcro, maybe? Glue?
Is the door and the shutters at the top, that's all blue, right?
I believe they're black.
It's all black.
It's black, okay.
Black. And so the background in the sign is black.
Okay,
And
well, that's good.
ties into the,
It all matches.
right.
Any other comments, questions? Do we have a proposal?
I'll make a motion to approve as submitted.
Motion from Billy, second. Second from Mary Lou. Any further comments? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried unanimously.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Moving right along to BAR 2510. Again, the site is outlined in red here. You can see McDuffie in the center of your screen, so we're shifted over slightly. Main Street here to the left, and Murray over here with Fant on the far right. Everybody know where we are approximately? Okay. This application is requesting approval to demolish a duplex at 1012 South McDuffie. The City of Anderson Building and Codes Department has received complaints regarding the condition of this building. The owners received multiple warnings from the city and responded to a courtesy summons on January 13th of this year. At this meeting, the owners agreed to demolish the structures. Since the structure does not contribute to the historic character of the district, and because of its advanced deterioration, staff recommends approval of demolition. So that is the front picture of the structure, and it's my understanding the roof is in even worse shape now, and it's beyond repair. So again, staff is recommending approval of the demolition.
This rings a bell that maybe a few years ago, we approved demolition of this building and another one a couple of doors down. That doesn't really matter.
So it might be important to note that this whole section of the block here that I'm outlining with my cursor is one property, so it's a multifamily property. There may have been another structure that came down, I'm not sure, but to my knowledge, there was not a demolition approved on this structure. If there had been, we wouldn't be here.
I make a motion
We
to, yes.
have a motion to approve the demolition? Okay. Have a second?
Second.
A second? Any further comments on it? All those in favor? Opposed?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So we're looking at Lindley Park Phase 2 and a sign for Lindley Park Phase 2. I know this is zoomed out, but I like to understand what we're looking at. So Phase 2 is outlined in red. Phase 1 is right here of Lindley Park, and you can see Main Street and the commercial development coming off to the right. Everybody know where we are? Great. So this application is for a new monument sign, and it was last before you last month. And it was tabled for a couple of reasons. Number one, you wanted to make sure the stonework was going to match what is being developed in the park? And the answer is yes, the stone base will match what's going on in Phase 2, and Phase 2 was designed to match the stonework in Phase 1. Obviously, over the years, it's hard to duplicate exactly, but that's the intent. This is the existing sign on the north end. There is no proposal at this time to replace this sign with a sign that would match what's on the south end. The thought process here is that this sign was appropriate when Phase 1 was done and made sense then. And now with Phase 2, we've got slightly different details. Again, all that tie back in, but slightly different and a more contemporary look. So the sign is intended to more closely match what's in Phase 2. And we saw, there was also some discussion about the lettering not looking like there was enough contrast between it and the background. You saw a sample, I hope, on the way in that the background is fairly matte and the letters have a slight gloss on them, so kind of sets them off. So I hope you were able to see that. I'm trying to make sure. I think that about covers staff's comments, but we'll walk through this here. So, so right now there are 3 big kind of park projects going on or about to start. One of them is Lindley Park Phase 2, which is finishing up this spring. We're redoing the sign at the dog park, which is what you see in front of you. And again, it is outside the historic district, so it didn't get your all's review and approval, but the sign is very much the same as what's proposed at Lindley Park. And then we're going to be looking at this next. Cater Lake is about to get underway. They put up the construction fence, and the sign that will go in there, the intent was that it would be the same, again, so that we have a consistency across the parks with this same Cortan steel background and an aluminum finish for the letters. So again, back to Lindley Park. This is the end of Phase 2, the south end. You can see that circle is where this sign will be located. So it's right where the road splits from 2-way into 1-way streets around the park. There's a sign detail in the upper left-hand corner. You can see what the lettering is going to look like with the city logo below it. And again, that stonework that's going to match what's in the park. And there's a picture of Lindley Park, the sign, Lindley Park sign. Again, the bottom part would not be visible. It'll be below the masonry. You can tell where that is from that dashed line right there. And anything above that is what's visible. And that concludes staff's presentation. Again, we're recommending approval, and I'm happy to answer as many questions as I can.
Comments or questions?
To me, and other people have not seen this sign, but I've heard so many comments from people that live in our neighborhood, and 3 of us at least live in Lindley Park. It is one continuous park. They have closed off the road to make it that way. So one of the basic 7 principles of design that is on every test you have to take to be a professional, or 2 of the principles. One is unity, another is repetition. These are like bookends. And I know that the trend right now in architecture is to not try to make something look like the old part, to designate this is the new part. I understand that. It's an attractive sign. It's creative. It will be wonderful probably in other places in town, but this is a historic district. And to me, everyone loves the sign at the north end, and since it is one continuous park where people hopefully will bike and walk, and that it should be the same, or not exactly the same, but out of the same materials, or have the bookend feeling to it, even though you don't look at them at the same time. You enter, and then you drive, and anyone that lives in Lindley Park now knows that it's a drive, and you're going to have to turn around to get to your house lots of times, and you'll see the one at the other end. There ought to be more correlation in the colors and material, I think. There's got to be a way for us to work with this and make it work for what the city wants to do as identifying this is one of our wonderful parks, but also keeping it as designating. You drive up from the south end and you go, oh, this is different. This is a historic district. It's one of the charms, I think, that Anderson still has that many of our surrounding larger cities have lost so much of in building structures that do not relate there anywhere at anyhow. The other thing that I wanted to say gives an example. Anderson University, they have different signs. They don't all look alike, but they all have the same, they're all made out of the same colors and textures and materials, so that there's a continuity to it.
So you're looking to have continuity between the two signs. So would it be a possibility to, where the green is in the old sign, to paint that to mimic the colors in the new sign?
Well, you know, that we were talking about that a few minutes ago. That could be a possibility. It doesn't. I think in the other, the way this is set, it's surrounded by the stucco, the concrete, whatever, I think it's stucco. And you have the columns. It's not, and I love things that are asymmetrical, but it's not off to one side like a wave. It follows along with the traditions of the historic district, and which is one of the things that is in our guidelines. The use of masonry that appears similar in character to that seen traditionally is appropriate. Maybe that other sign, or it could be placed back not quite as large and be a subordinate sign to one similar to this. It doesn't have to be exactly like this.
Using the same type of stonework around it?
So,
Well, they are.
if I may, if that's what Mr. Chairman, you suggested is an interesting, and actually I had the same thought in my head. With the lightness of the stucco it would frame the darkness of the Cortan steel, much like the green is framed here as well, and maybe if that were cleaned up, and it would even go further by picking up, I think it picks up those same clay colors that are in the stone in that Cortan steel and carry it over. But what I'm hearing is it's not just necessarily the material that's used, but that wave. That's a concern.
Well, it is. It really is. And
Yeah.
I'm particularly seeing because it was not shown to us complete that look, and so I appreciate being able to see that. I mean, it showed it in the diagram. Oh, well, I apologize, it did up there, but that was at the base of the drawing. There's got to be some way that everyone can be happy and proud of this sign, and that it can do what they're trying to do.
And I agree 100% with everything you said, Amanda. The sign that's there on the north end of the park, to me, and it's my neighborhood, it reflects the character of the neighborhood. I mean, we have houses with stone foundations. We have some. It just in the green, to me, for a park, I love that. The new proposed sign on the other end, I see nothing in that design that, other than the stonework, that would complement the historic district and the buildings that are there. Personally, I think it would be appropriate to have two signs like the existing sign. It's a very attractive sign, and people do comment on that. This one, to me, is very contemporary. We're not a contemporary neighborhood. I think it's wonderful for the dog park and maybe even Caters Lake, but we're not part of that, and they're not a part of the historic district. So to me, it would be appropriate to, and like, I love your term, the bookends. That just, that's my.
I understand the bookends, and I understand that completely, and the repetition. But looking at the details that are in the park that you can just see from the road now, i.e. that shade structure and the pavilions that are going up and the restrooms, there's more lending to a contemporary feel, and that's already there. So that's why this sign has that contemporary feel, to kind of pull this park a little bit and keep it more current as possible. And again, I understand that this is a historic district, but you all have looked at new construction and commented on new construction, and we want to make sure that it blends. And I think this sign does blend with the Cortan steel again, and the masonry that's under it. Again, this masonry is going to reflect what is in the park in phase 1 as well as phase 2. So there is that element that ties on through and comes on down to the southern end of the park.
I do think that how do I say it? The buildings, we approve the buildings, they're wonderful. That is contemporary, that's great. It goes with it. You know, of course, the landscaping, I'm sure it'll just be beautiful as the first part is, but, you know, we watched all trees being taken up and torn up. So right now, there's no green there. But the green on the other side, on the north side, reflected all the green that's going to be there. And I just somehow they need to relate more than just stone that isn't even put in the same configuration. Like I say,
the lettering and the font were the same or changed on the old sign to match the new sign font and lettering, would
yeah,
improve it a little bit.
I'm not trying to make you dizzy, that's a good point, didn't look very closely.
Chris, is the city utilizing this style signage throughout the park as well? Like, are there gonna be other placards and such that are gonna be utilizing the same?
There are that's a really good question. I believe there are other interior signs, smaller signs that are going to use the Cortan steel. Yes, sir.
I think I have an opposing viewpoint that I'll just say out loud. I agree that repetition and unity are important. The sign does not offend me personally, but I do agree that continuity is important, and that if the city is going to install this sign, that I would at least propose that they replace the other one so that those bookends still match. For me, the style is, not as much of an issue because it is a contemporary park that's been put up.
If the fonts, the lettering, and the material was painted, the background was painted to mimic that Corten steel, would that be more acceptable on the old sign?
I think you could even insert a panel potentially
Or a panel.
on the face of it and replicate the material, replicate the font and the lettering to match exactly. And I think similar to what Amanda said, even revising the stonework to be more linear on the new sign, maybe instead of a swoop, it's just straight, maybe even a planter in front. And I don't know if it would work visually, but I don't know if there's even a way to bring up something vertically on one end, a column.
Or like you say, to even have the other side of it, instead of just one-sided. And I agree, I think that type of sign in this, designating this is the restrooms, this is this, it's very appropriate for that. It's just the sign you see announcing this is Lindley Park. And I also would like to just go on the record as saying that part of Lindley Park being a historic park, that is a park that's always been there. And lots of the newer generations don't even realize that the streetcar railroad tracks went right up in front of Mr. Lindley's house and through the middle of the park. Well, those have all been covered up. At one time, the doctors, the medical auxiliary, they had the doctor's rose garden in that park. And it was beautiful. And all the doctors' wives came out and planted roses. It was just about a block of them. And they would keep it beautifully manicured. Well, that's been covered up. Well, that's fine. We have a beautiful park now. But the Little League ball field, I mean, those that would come home every day, it was covered with children and parents and cars everywhere. That's gone. Well, wonderful. We'll have a wonderful, beautiful park. But it would be nice if there were some small historical markers that the city provided within this park, saying this used to be the Little League ball field. This used to be the rose garden for the doctors that was dedicated to them. This used to have the streetcars come up through this park. We shouldn't throw the, baby out with the bathwater. These are important things that do make a difference. When we're all dead and gone, people will be looking at this.
Chris, do you have a top view showing the sign and the stonework?
Not a very good one.
No, not very good.
That's, there, it doesn't, so it looks like it doesn't tie into anything more than that, what you're seeing right there in the top left-hand corner. In other words, it's not like that wall snakes around behind the, behind this walk. It's just right there.
What would the possibility be if they incorporated some planters? Maybe on each side of it, with that wall.
Well, I'm
Give
sure
us
it's
some
gonna be
green.
landscaped in front of the sign. It's not like we're not gonna landscape in front of the sign. I can go back and get the landscape plan and send it to you all. I guess my recommendation, if you're gonna, I would rather see you landscaping in front of the sign than planters created to put
As
landscaping
long as we
in.
have some greenery, need some
Yes,
greenery.
yeah, I'm sure there will be, there will be.
Well-
But likewise, I'm happy to send the landscape plan to everybody so that you can see what's going on.
Would it be, going forward, the best thing to do? We are not the architects, although there are architects and designers on this board. This isn't our project, but it is our historical district and our city and our neighborhood in many cases. If we tabled it and sent it back, they're obviously not ready to put the sign in right away. And if they could come up with, I think some of the things that were suggested about possibly making the main area, making the old sign, the north sign, look like the lettering and the logo exactly like that. Maybe painting the background the same color, and then doing something to make the new sign not be just on one side, but it doesn't have to have columns and a planter in front or anything, but something that would make it centered instead of off-centered.
With just a
So-
nod to the historic
Yeah,
part.
so that both of them, right, so it still could be a nod, like you say, to the new, this is the new part, this is the contemporary, and it would still relate to the future signage they would have.
So while I can't speak definitively, I feel confident though that, like Billy suggested, a panel could be popped in there with the same material, the same fonts, the same color on the fonts, or finish on the fonts. That could be popped into the old sign, I feel confident, and I would think that everyone would agree to that. Yeah, certainly you all can do whatever you want, and I have a list going here, and I'm happy to read them if you want me to.
Well, and the idea of making, what did you say again, Billy, about putting some stucco or concrete around, or did you not say that?
I was
Did
talking
mention-
about introducing a vertical element, maybe on either end of a flattened
okay.
wall instead of a sloped wall. It wouldn't have to be a tall column
Yeah.
like
Mhm.
the existing sign, but maybe something that comes just above the
Just,
cap.
well, you do it just above the sign, it would accent the sign and even out the wall, instead of having it.
So I'm hearing
swoop in
two
it.
things. I'm hearing flatten the wall with a column that comes just above the wall cap, and now I'm hearing
Go back to the original, or
Okay,
the
sure.
existing sign. See how there's a shorter
Yeah,
column there on the end?
Just make it like
yeah,
Like if you centered the new sign, something like a shorter
yeah.
pilaster could be at either end,
Mhm.
or if it's off-center, it could just be at one end, but
It-
I like the idea of centering it.
I hear everybody saying that they like the original sign. Did the board, did they approve that sign 12 years ago? Do you know? the original sign?
I would assume, I'm sorry, I would assume it was. I don't know that for
Yes,
certain.
We did.
Yeah, okay.
So my
Thank you.
question is, instead of trying to redesign this new sign, which is subjective in nature, to make it more or less like it, why wouldn't the board just decide to approve another sign like this on the other end of the park?
Yes.
Oh,
I-
Yes,
definitely.
that's what was,
That's what we would
I mean,
prefer.
I think the suggestion is that the new sign would show again that progression of the park, and that it was done at a different time, and speak more to the aesthetics, the current aesthetics now, as opposed to the aesthetics 10 years ago.
to me, it's the bookends. And, you know, when, like, the house that's being constructed in our backyard, you know, the adjoining lot, they made a lot of modifications to their house to make it fit in with the guidelines.
Mhm.
There were some things they wanted that
You're right.
it was just not something you would do in an historic neighborhood. So they changed it, and now the house will fit nicely. I'm thinking the same thing with the sign. It's like, it is an historic district with old buildings. And the contemporary, like I said, I think at Caters Lake, the dog park, I think they'll be nice there. This project to me is, like you said, it's one continuous park.
Yeah, if the road was still there, or a traffic circle or
Mhm.
something separating them, that would be a totally different issue. But they've made it into one park. And
So, so just to be clear, there is going to be what they're calling a peanut circle. So, you know, everyone knows what a traffic circle is. So there's, where those roads have closed off, there's going to be it's like a peanut circle. So it looks more like a peanut to accommodate that. So, and there is a path that will link the phase 1 and phase 2 that runs through the middle of that peanut. But you'll be able to, it won't be as direct as now, but it should be safer for vehicles and pedestrians.
You'll be able to drive.
And pedestrians that are walking, because it's really dangerous walking that between the two sections. So I just don't want you to think that it's not going to, there's going to be traffic in that area. I know what you're talking about, and I contemplated putting that on the presentation tonight, but I didn't want to complicate the issue. But there is going to be vehicular traffic in that middle section.
But it'll be a more closely joined.
Yes, ma'am, you're correct.
Space.
You are correct.
And
Yes,
we do
ma'am.
have the traffic in the upper part.
Pardon?
Where,
Yeah, where you can turn through.
yeah, I mean, there already is traffic in the north end of the park too, that cut across there. So, but still, you can walk, pedestrians use it.
Right, and that's, I didn't realize it was gonna be a peanut.
Yeah.
But,
It's not a technical
it's
term.
still, it's one joined. It's
Yes, ma'am.
not
You're right.
separated.
There's a walk down the middle of it to link them all up. That's the idea.
Would everybody be agreeable to, what Billy's suggestion was, flattening out the wall and putting 2 small pilasters at each end of the new sign, which would somewhat mimic the existing sign on the north end of the park? And then put the plates in, put a plate in the north sign to match the colors and the lettering and the fonts of the new sign.
And to your idea that, can we phrase it that we go ahead and we're not accepting, I don't know what the wording is, are we tabling this, but we would accept if they wanted to do the same sign.
Yes.
That is
The same
their
what?
next.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the same what?
original
sign.
We
Just
have time for
duplicate
it,
the-
we have time, we have a
Oh,
month.
Same sign.
Okay, so can we table this and propose to the design team to change the sign, is the 2 pilasters okay? And then, flatten the wall and make a panel to go in the existing north sign that would have the same fonts, lettering, and background. So that would give us, both signs would.
I would prefer they consider
Yeah, to
duplicating the sign.
consider the exact same sign that is now
That is
there
at the
now.
north end.
Right.
Yes.
That would
Maybe
be
on
our
a
first.
smaller,
Okay,
Choice.
let's put that as
Smaller
our
scale.
First
Or-
choice would be mimic the north sign in the new sign area at the south end. And the second choice would be to
What you just
modify
said.
what they've come up with and actually modify both signs. Would,
That's,
about
that's a
us?
you deal.
how about a smaller version of the original sign?
If they needed to, I mean, I'm not
They
sure what
could,
their
they wouldn't have to go to all that, you know,
Right, yeah, it doesn't have to
just,
be.
I mean, to use the same elements, but make it smaller. Wouldn't have to have the
yeah,
But I mean,
flower bed
I
and all
also,
that.
I mean, I like the idea of carrying the core 10 across all of the new renovated parks. I think there's something to be said for that as well. I know Lindley Park is different, but there is that sense of unity
Mhm.
and connection as you
That's-
move from one park to another,
Yes.
a sense of a familiar signage that you know you're at another nice park.
Well,
And I
that-
feel like if we duplicated the existing sign, and again, Lindley Park could stand alone as something different, but I do like the idea of carrying something, even if the stonework is different at every park. If the core 10 sign and the lettering is consistent, then maybe it's the stonework that differentiates between the parks.
So if they could
That's the larger concept.
change, if they could change the green, which I love, but if they changed it to this material on the existing sign, and then if they could duplicate it, I think that would be the best, but, something very similar in style. That
similar in
is-
style, but smaller in size.
It could be smaller,
Mhm.
but
Has to
that
be
way
smaller.
your sign face across the city is gonna be the same. But, I mean, some areas might be more contemporary area, and the style that they propose might be appropriate there. That's just my opinion, but I'm seeing this as one area.
And.
So I think it's important to note, going back to Billy's comment, you're going to be looking at Caters Lake next. And there's not a graphic of the sign at Caters Lake, but it's an exact duplicate of the Lindley Park sign.
But it's,
I like the suggestion of, actually Lindley Park, you see more the Lindley Park, whereas what it is now, if they change it and keep the Anderson logo there, and make it curved on the top, the panel that they would
Right.
snap in
Right.
to follow,
Yeah.
the exact same size and everything, but out of the Corton, and with and it would be aluminum or whatever, the stainless
Aluminum,
letters.
brushed aluminum.
And the Lindley Park would actually be
Right.
bigger on this sign,
Yeah.
and they would both repeat
Right.
themselves. I think that's a wonderful compromise that would make the city happy and the board happy too, from the historical standpoint.
you got all that?
So what I'm hearing is, unless there's something different, you all want to table it, right?
Yes, till we get some feedback from them, can they do it?
Okay,
Or will they
okay,
do it?
to table it, you need to vote to table it.
Okay, but you have all this information now, that's gonna go.
I can, yes, I have the information. Let me repeat it to you to make sure I've got it.
Yes.
So I think we're just down to 3 things. So reduce or eliminate the swoop that you see up here in the upper left-hand corner on the wall, replace, let me try to take care of this. Add short columns that are just above the wall cap on each side of the sign to make it more symmetrical. And then we're going to replace, we're going to suggest that the green be replaced with a Cortan steel panel with lettering that essentially mimics this, exactly.
Yes.
So those are the three things I've got. Wait a minute.
The lettering and the logo.
The lettering and the logo, yes, exactly. That's what I've got. Yeah, those are the three things I got. Did I miss anything?
Yeah, I would prefer, and I don't know how Brett feels about this, that they consider constructing the same shape sign as the north end. That it be the same.
I heard that, but I didn't think that was a
I don't know how
board
it is.
decision, but I'm happy to add it if it is.
We can you can present that to them.
Okay?
That may impact their budget, so that may not fly.
Okay,
It could be a
so
little smaller.
consider
It could.
consider just duplicating the sign. Okay?
Smaller sign.
But with the Cortan,
Cortan steel.
Cortan,
Yeah. Okay.
But if they put the panel in the north sign to have it, it can be just like this, except you
It would have
see
to
how it
match that
curves
arch.
at the top. It'll have
Yes,
to-
ma'am.
yeah.
Yes, ma'am. In other words, the graphics, the letters, and the name would all be the same, but just on the panel. Yeah, I get it. Yes,
This one
ma'am.
would be straight, because it's, you know.
If that happens, it'll be back before you, and you can make sure.
Okay.
Okay?
All right. Any other discussion on it?
Yeah, and I don't want to complicate things, but is it too much to ask as a compromise that we get the same material in smaller placards with, have a historical walking tour with the rose garden and the trolley cars?
I really
It'd be great to have that
appreciate
in
that.
there.
I really think that's important, and
The
I
three
think what
things you
you're
said, you
saying-
said three things.
well, the Little League.
Yeah, the Little League, that's good history. Could they make smaller ones to?
So I'm adding that
Yeah,
to
I
the
mean, that's
list.
just a
It's
thought.
Streetcar tracks. the
So now I've
Rose
got-
Garden,
And
I've got
And
ball
the
field,
Little
Doctor's
League.
Rose Garden, streetcar tracks. Was there anything else?
no, that's those three.
Okay.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
historical
That'd be
markers.
fun.
I think you're right, it probably will never get done.
Billy, you may know this, who makes the historical markers? Is that something done in Columbia? We've seen those.
Yeah, it is in Columbia, I think, yeah.
Okay, I don't know who that would
With
be
the
through.
plaques?
The historic landmarks.
It's, yeah, the historic landmark, Pendleton has several,
You can buy those, you buy those, you can buy them
I
online.
meant this,
You have to apply,
Yeah,
you have to send an application, and they send you, they make, I
have
think
to
it is in
document,
Columbia.
yeah,
They have to make sure it is a historic
Yeah, send your
landmark.
certificate in with it.
that's a good idea, though. I like
I
that.
think the preference would be, though, to have the signage tie in to what's in the park instead of
Right.
Yeah.
having something that's separate.
Yeah.
It's
And-
more like a walking tour.
Yeah, like a walking tour of
Yeah.
the history.
And it's for the information, then, as long as it
I think
just blends in.
it's a
We're
good
Very
idea.
proud of that park.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea. Mr. Chairman,
Okay.
the town would request that you have a vote.
Okay. Do we have a motion to table this motion from Amanda, a second from
Well,
Jill?
we're not tabling it, are we? We're just going
That-
back with suggestions and
We're
looking
tabling it
for.
till
But we're
next
not
month.
passing.
Well, I think
That's
the
part
idea
of
is that we'll table it and we'll take this back to
Okay.
the design and see what happens.
Gotcha.
That's right.
Come back before us.
Okay.
Okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor of tabling it till next month? Opposed? It's tabled till next month? Carried
I didn't get
unanimously.
anybody.
You were looking.
I didn't get anybody.
Okay. Moving along.
Yes, sir. Moving right along, BAR 25-8. The city is requesting approval of renovations to Carter Lake Park. The park is outlined in red here. Greenville Street is running sort of through the middle of the page here. You can see the end of Boulevard right here. Everybody know where we are? Great. So, there's a laundry list of improvements here, and I think they're all important, so I'm going to run down through them, so bear with me. The walkways would be paved, and I think it's important to note, you can see these on the site plan here. While not all areas, but most areas will be handicapped accessible. That is a huge deal. And meaning they're going to be paved, they're going to be hard, you can roll a wheelchair on them. The slopes are within handicapped accessibility standards. Parking is going to be improved and what I would call formalized. So instead of this random parking along the roads, there will be spaces painted and parking lots set aside, so it's more formally laid out. The landscaping is native, the use of a lot of natives. That's important now with the decimation of the insect population, bees and pollinators. So going back with natives helps to stabilize those, and it's important to know about. And those plants are best adapted to our environment. There will be nesting habitat or islands for the ducks out here, again, which is important. There is a covered bridge element, and it's located right here. We'll look at that in just a minute. There's going to be intersection improvements. So you'll notice down here there's a cul-de-sac with parking. So this, is it Hiawatha? Is that right? This road will no longer be have an access to Greenville, just the adjacent road. So that's going to be closed, and this will just be dedicated to park and parking. But there will be, it's important to note though that there's pedestrian access off of Greenville into the heart of the park at that point, as well as an improved intersection for pedestrian crossings. And also, again, we've had an exhausting debate about the sign that will be located right here. Okay? So that's sort of the site. Oh, I think it's also important to note there's a stone retaining wall. I'm tracing it with my cursor that runs pretty much along this side of the path right here. There are existing stone walls out there already, so you know the topography change. At the top of that, there's going to be where height provides just a chain and finial or chain and post railing system. Where it's a little higher and more security is required, there's stainless steel, tension railing. Again, that's that ball and chain sort of bollard system that'll run on top of and you can see the tension, the stainless steel tension railing right here. Just some more details. Here's the planting plan. Again, a lot of areas of perennials and native planting. There is a grass lawn right here. I can envision the Easter services, I know they're held there now, but taking place there. So that there is a gathering spot is the point. And again, that bridge structure right here, which will look like this. And this is a rendering of it. Now, you've got the colors there on the dais, and it's important to note that it's a little slight change from what's shown here. The structural timber frames will be the Harbor Mist, which is more of a brown. You see that? The yellow sticky is next to it. So that the structure, the beams, will be that Harbor Mist, and a Mountain Ash, which I believe is a little darker, will be the tongue and groove roof decking that's above that, under the metal roof. And then the concrete piers, not a lot of them exposed, but they will be painted that muddy gray.
Muddy gray.
And the steel is going to be accented in black and that black is in the color deck. And the metal roofing will be a dark bronze. And that's, this is that sheet. I'm happy to answer any questions that came in later than the application, and I'm happy to answer any questions on that. So, staff is suggesting approval, and we would like it to include the sign that would look like Lindley Park.
Comments, questions?
Is the sign gonna face Greenville Street so people will see it, or?
No, ma'am.
No?
Let's see. So it'll sit in this area right here. You see where my cursor is?
So you'll have to actually go into the park to see the name?
Yes, ma'am. There's
like a road sign now that says Caterers Lake, right? Like a-
there might very well be. I'm not for sure. I'm looking. I might have missed one. No, I don't see it labeled.
Why would they not have that sign where you would see it from Greenville Street?
There is. My apologies. This out here is a sign. See
There's
that
the
little?
sign. Okay.
So that's on Greenville.
So that's on Greenville. Again, this is that improved intersection, so pedestrians will be accessing the site there, so it makes sense to have that sign there.
Okay, so there is a sign.
And then, we're approving this because Caterers Lake is in which historic district?
It is in the Boulevard Historic District.
It is?
It crosses, yes, it crosses Greenville. Now, so go back here.
That street is Walden.
Just so that you know, it's just, the historic district includes just Caters Lake. So it includes this and what's below it.
Not the houses across the street.
Not the houses over here, no. And not the houses over here.
So the
No,
lake is
sir.
in the district.
So it's just in the edge of the district.
Oh, thinking of the houses across the street
No,
that
I
face
meant the
it
other
came
side.
before us at one
think they are.
point.
One's on Boulevard.
The ones, on Greenville Street, as you're headed downtown on the left side, that is, no, I don't think it is.
No,
So when it gets to College,
I have to go to college right by.
when it gets to College, it shoots back up this way, I believe, but it does not include this little finger, this little triangle down here.
Right.
And it includes the church over here, but it stops at College and does not include this triangle over here.
but when you are facing Hiawatha Drive, there are like maybe 3 houses and that look down on the lake.
Yes, ma'am, there are. At
And
least 3.
I thought that those,
Because they're between
one of
Central
those came
Pres and the
before
lake.
us.
I am happy to check on the boundary and get back to you. I don't believe that those are in, but I'm happy to check if you would like me to.
I mean, this was a long, long time ago. Do
Yeah.
you would
Vaguely, I think.
remember
I
that?
think I might remember that.
I'll check and get back to you. I'm sorry, did you have a question?
I don't think you might have said it.
So we know now the sign's facing Greenville. Are there any other comments or questions?
There's only one sign.
There's only one sign on Greenville, yes, ma'am.
So it's the sign, the railing, and the pavilion? Or, no, that we're approving tonight?
You're approving the whole
The
package,
entire thing?
the whole package.
The covered bridge,
Okay.
Yeah,
the little island in the center.
so the architecture of that.
I gotta understand better where that covered bridge goes.
Okay, I can help you with that. It might be easier on this plan. This is the landscape plan. That covered bridge sits right here.
Okay.
Okay, Greenville Street is right here. So it'll be a focal point as you drive
So
through.
there's lots of trees there now, right? It's like a wooded area.
I believe that it's over, there might be wooded, this green
Yeah.
text right here, that's all existing trees. So I believe this is existing water right now.
All right,
It's
so
not
that's
very
the little
deep.
walkway between the retention pond and the big lake.
Yes, sir.
Okay. It's kind of a crummy area right now, so.
It's going to be a beautiful area. You're going to be so proud of it. It's going to be Lindley Park plus.
That looks great.
Looks good.
And there's no, water spraying up anymore?
No, ma'am.
No Santa Claus?
Is there, did I miss it? Is there a picture of the proposed sign or?
It would just, again, if we go back to look at the dog park sign,
Same thing as
it's
that?
going to be the same thing. That's the idea is to carry that consistency across the parks in the city of Anderson.
And that's the only sign
Only
that's there?
sign.
It's the monument sign here, and there'll be a sign here.
Oh,
Will be a
there's
sign
two.
down it?
I'm sorry?
So there's two signs?
Yes, here and here.
The railing that,
Where's that detail?
it's,
I'm sorry, I don't mean to make you dizzy, it's right there.
okay, that is the railing that goes,
I'll show you where it goes. So it's right here, and it's required there because the drop-off is greater than, I'm sorry, I can't remember, help me,
I think it's
Billy,
30
is it
32
more than
inches?
40 inches?
So you need a handrail,
Yes,
30 inches.
30 inches. So it's more than 30 inches here, so you'll see that handrail coming in here. But up on this end of that retaining wall, it's only like 24 inches. So you just have that ball and chain. I call it ball and chain. I guess it's a bollard and chain.
Yeah.
You'll have this sort of look here. The idea is to keep it as light, the railing and the guard as light as possible so you view out onto the lake.
and it's, black, so it'll look.
Yes, ma'am.
The railing
Yes,
will be
ma'am.
black as well?
Pardon?
The railing will be black? The chains and the ballards?
Yes, the bollards and the chains, yes, sir. The railing, I'm sorry, I don't know exactly what color it is. The wire between it is stainless steel. Shoot.
All right, now let's see, where's, oh, now we're looking down. That's the railing that will be crossing the bridge?
No, ma'am.
No, it's along that, it's,
I thought we were having the ball and the chain.
So
Here.
there is no railing on the bridge because there's not a lot of drop. So you're right there at the water. Let's look at that image. So you can see this, you see how
Oh.
there's very little drop there. The idea is you're as close to the water as possible because people like to do that.
Supplies code.
That railing is over here on this outlook right here. And I believe it's right here too.
And it is, can we go back to?
It is stainless steel tension railing system. So again, very light, meant to disappear. It's this detail right here.
so you'll have stainless steel cables
Yes,
in between some posts,
yes.
and that becomes
Oh,
your railing.
okay.
Yes, ma'am.
And we've approved something similar to that before on top
Yes.
of.
Is there
Yes,
any
yes, ma'am.
lighting?
I'm sorry, maybe I
but
wasn't
On top
communicating.
of, something on Benson Street, I think.
Will there be a solid top rail?
Yes, sir. There has to be to meet code.
And
Chris,
it'll
is there any lighting, lamp post or anything like that?
That I'm not sure of. That's a good question. I'm just not sure of that.
will there be any kind of lighting in the park?
I'm not
There'd
sure of
have to
that.
be.
I'm just not sure of that.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I don't know.
It is a good
It
question.
is a very good question, and I would think with security that we would think about that, but I can ask and get back to you.
And, you know, the company Dabney Collins, are they the ones that are doing this project?
Yes, sir.
Because they're big into that. They're outdoor lighting gurus.
Well, I mean, you'd have to for code and everything, so you wouldn't trip at night. It would like Lindley Park is now. They have,
Right.
landscape
Yeah.
lighting.
Yeah, you'd think you'd want some lighting on that covered bridge and along some of the waterway, water's edge. Okay. So-
Well, you can certainly, I would suggest if you want to, you could approve it and make the suggestion that a lighting be considered.
We have any other comments, questions, suggestions?
And Chris, the lighting in Lindley Park would probably be appropriate there too.
Yes, ma'am. The bollard lighting.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so.
I don't know, that's not very historical.
So what we're looking at is approval for this whole package with the question of lighting, would they come back with lighting? Any other comments or questions on it?
It's really nice.
Okay. Do we have a proposal?
I'll move to approve.
We have a motion from Mary Lou and a second from Amanda. Any more questions or comments? All those in favor? Opposed?
Great,
That
thank you.
concludes
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
staff business.
Yes, sir. So, education, coming up, there's an opportunity, the South Carolina Historic Preservation Conference. It's in Columbia. The city, if you wish to attend, I believe you can knock out all of your continuing education hours, and the city will pay your application fee. But you need to let me know, well, I guess there's a late registration, but save the city a couple of bucks and let me know by the 30th. I think it's 30th or 31st. You should have received an email on this. If you're interested, please contact me as soon as possible. Now, for local, this is what we've got lined up at this point. A bunch of you all got credit hours coming to the open house. Thank you so much. I think it's important that we learn about the comprehensive plan that's up for approval. But a couple of things. Hot topics will be at this meeting, after this meeting next month. That's going to be with Andrew Strickland. He's going to be talking about what we just looked at, Caters Lake, Lindley Park addition, letting you know what's going on with some improvements around the city. Then following the Planning Commission meeting, because we've got 3 commissions, we're spreading it out over those. There is planning is not zoning topic with Maurice McKenzie. Again, that's important because we just did the comprehensive plan, which sets the table for changes to the development ordinance, which may, later on after that, may include changes to the design guide to bring them up to date, because they're old. Not that they're not working, they're just old, and there might be some things that we want to get in there that we could improve it. And then following the Board of Zoning Appeals, Transportation and Connectivity and Mobility, Roads, Trails, and Transit, that's with Mike Gay. And he is going to be talking about just all the transportation. We've got trails and buses and all that. You all, again, these are at the ends of meetings. If the meeting's canceled, that will be this will be held at the time of the meeting, and you're encouraged to come to those meetings. Are there any questions? And I have one final introduction. We have with us Trevor Anderson. He is our new planning planner, traffic planner, transportation planner. I said I wasn't going to mess it up, but I did. I'm sorry, Trevor. But he is stepping in. We're glad to have him, and he's going to seems like you're going to all the committees. Yeah. So he'll probably be doing a little bit more than traffic or transportation, right? Yeah. Okay.
Glad to have you aboard.
And that concludes staff's.
Okay, board business, anybody have anything you want to bring up, discuss before we close? Do I hear a motion to adjourn? Motion from Billy? A second from Mary Lou. All those in favor of adjournment?